there was an unwritten gentleman's agreement, so to speak, unwritten, that power moves from one zone to the other. Sometimes it's more like even a toss of the thumb by the governor. I'm not too sure that it's normally arranged for a zone. Maybe a candidate is determined and then it becomes a zone. So this arrangement rotated the governorship among the places. And of course, it began with Chumariko Bonde and Namani from the Enugu Senatorial Zone, and that was 1999. Is that 1999 to 2007? And Sullivan took 2007 to 2015. And of course, it sat for 2 tenures, and of course, it moved to Sokas, the Enugu Senatorial Zone, 2015 to 2023. And that was the final one. Of course, the rotation ensured that the Sokas zone produced the governor after Enugu East and Enugu West are completed in 2023. It returned to Enugu East Central Zone 2023, but the cycle before it returned, there was a lot of back and forth. There were issues. Many felt, okay, it has gone around, it could start anywhere. That was a big battle. But of course, it didn't happen like that. It went back to Enugu East Senatorial Zone, not without bruises, not without a fight. And that has dominated the conversation a long time. Where will it go after 2031? But before then, a group of young men, first of all, scholars in their own rights, public affairs analysts in their own rights, researchers in their own rights, said, look, there's been this talk about this. Is there any way we can put this together? So that instead of looking for discordant documents, you can pick a book, one whole book, and then you have maybe all you needed to know about whether it is zoning, whether it is rotation, whether it is a willful choice, whatever it was. It has worked for Enugu State all this while. And that's where the book we're talking about today came into play. Zoning of governorship position in Enugu State. And I'm being joined this morning by two of the authors of that work. Maybe on the other side myself, but I'm asking the questions. I'm actually will be providing the answers. So I'm being joined in the studio to talk about this wonderful, what man can say is a strategic book, coming at such a strategic time. I have in the studio Dr. Chikezi Obasi. He's a co-author to the book. Dr. Obasi, how are you?
I'm fine. Good morning, listeners. Good morning, the co-author and the Papa Knight, the deputy chairman of the public affairs analyst of the state branch. With so many accolades, I don't want to say the other one on the politics, but
you're the receiving end. I'm the one that should be doing so yourself.
Good morning, everybody. Welcome to Freedom Square.
Okay, we're also being joined by a veteran journalist, a man whose stories reverberate every part of Nigeria and the world. And you may know him, you may not know him by his name, but you know him by his pen name. Journalist 101, Ume Clinton. Clinton, how are you?
I'm very well. Good morning, Indian. Good morning to our listeners, wherever you're hearing our voice from. Today we are wearing a different cap. Let's have a very, very lovely conversation, because what we want to discuss is something that strikes at the heart of leadership in Enugu State. So don't go anywhere, stay with us.
Yes, I agree with him. Don't go anywhere. Stay with us. My first question would be, why the book? Why the book? Because there must be a motivation for everything. You just write a book, or you want to write a letter, or even so. There must be a motivation. There must be an urge. There must be a compelling factor. There must be an issue, a gap you want to fill. And so, the question will go for both of you. But let me start with Dr. Bass.
Okay, the book on zoning, why the book? 2023 came up with its, intrigues, a whole lot of intrigues. I remember that I was in one of the sister stations with Rain Nature, you know, well, before that advent of 2023. And the anchor that morning asked me the question, who, the anchor asked me the question, where do you think the next governorship should be moving to? And I said, left for me, it should go to Enugu East. And they paused a while. I said, are you aware what you were saying? I said, yes. He said, I hope you know that you won't go back to your, and I'm from Enugu West. He said, yes. And I remember that there were some of prominent Enugu West persons that we had, angling the position of governorship. And I reminded him that I took my position simply because I'm taking a look at what has happened in Nigeria, how especially the people of our extraction, the Igbo extraction, the Southeastern, have been talking about marginalization. That it might be easier for one who has the, the, the age, over others, to take everything as you want. But if you really look at it critically, begin to look at lasting peace, which actually codifies if you are going to, develop. And so for me, now in Igbo land, there is a way we do things that we should, take things turn by turn, and that means peaceful coexistence and then peaceful and harmony. And if you don't really go by that, you might have a distorted environment, a rattled environment, places where you have difficulties to navigate. And for some of us, we believe that peace is the first thing you must get for any meaningful development to be achieved. We had equally looked, I participated in this research because I believe that if we take a look at the states in the southeast, the ones that have observed element of zoning and rotation happen to be people that have lived more peacefully than the others. As we go on, we elaborate more. But again, I remember that the intrigues that followed 2023 election, some of us were at the forefront as analysts. And the intrigues, that it was not written, it was written, there was no binding rule and so on. And we now, as scholars, we realize that one of the reasons why Christianity as a religion had been in the forefront, propagating its ministry, because it's written. Anybody can actually tell you the culture of Christians are written. The culture of Christians is written in the Bible. And when you take a look, when you flip up, in fact, it is so chapterized that everybody knows that tradition very well. It has been handed down from generation to generation, close to 4,000 years today. So we found that if we continue going by convention, what happened in our own traditional society, where issues are discussed, and passed down from generation to generation, we might lose a whole lot of traction. And on us to begin to look at these people that played their roles, and good, many of them are still around, to interview them, begin to understand why and what happened in 1999, and then 2007, 2015, and then subsequently in 2023. And we are able to gather that, after painstakingly working for years, we gathered the information and say, let's put it in a book for the next generation.
But Lincoln, why the book? Why did you leave all you're doing, writing your stories, reporting events, uncovering mishaps, snooping and investigating deep, dark stories, to going interviewing people to produce a book?
First, I don't know how old I was. I know, but I can't remember what I was doing in 1999. Say 1998 because I know I was around and I can remember vividly how Nigerians welcomed the death of Sani Abacha. So I can say I've been very much around them, but I don't have much information about the intrigues that led to the return of democracy. What we remembered then was that they said one medical doctor that came from America will be our governor. And then another striking thing was that they said our Commissioner of Education then was his teacher at CIC. And back then, if our teachers are praying, they will say, Father, bless this our children. So that when if they become governor, they will remember us and make us commissioner. So, but that's that. Then fast forward to 2023, I was not just around. I participated, I interacted, and to a great extent, I was around with so many meetings and conversations. I was privy to some of the controversies. I was also privy to some of the decisions reached. So when all those things were happening, I to a greater level extent, I can say I was at the ground zero at some point because I have been in the rooms where these serious issues were raised, and I saw the ferocious arguments being put forward, both for those that want it this way and those that want it that way. Then the biggest question was, can they buy the area? You know the area. You and who discussed it? Who agreed to this? And then to those that we are saying, yes, we started from here logically, morally, it should move from here to here. Since it has gone from here to here. And then the question was, has these decisions ever been a product of any form of arrangement or just mere coincidence? So there were so many postulations. And for me, those things gave rise to a very, very striking question. And then some persons began to distort the history in form of writing and then their positioning. And some persons accused so many leaders of so many other things. So the proper thing to do for one as a journalist that seeks information, even though sometimes it's not for my own knowledge, but I seek information. One, two, I'm very curious about what happens around my society. Three, I want to find out what had happened in the past that could trigger or that could be the reason for what is happening currently. So these are the issues that illustrated my own curiosity. We wanted to find out from when this happened in 1999. How did it come to be? Was there kind of agreement? Because some persons will tell you there is law and order in Great Britain, but there is no constitution. They live by norms and codes. They can just come up with a policy and tell you this is what we are doing. But you cannot lay your hand on a central written document saying this is the code of conduct of Great Britain. But we all go there, the city is organized, people respect the law and the rest of them. Even though those laws are conventional ones, those are they just make as the need arises. And then the morals. So if they can be able to, say yes, we agree to this and keep doing that and keep saying it, and over time the city has evolved to the point that we want to go there and reside, even with our family. So this book was a product of deep, not just a deep retrospection or introspection as we wish to describe it, but it was born out of curiosity. And then we wouldn't want our children to be misread, to be misled, or maybe misinformed by any individual. So we wanted to solve a problem that happened when, so to speak, the world was in the dark. By 1999, the penetration of social media was almost zero in this part of the world. So if you go online, you will not even see most things about 1999 to 23 to 27. From 27, from 23, there was small grains of light. From 27, it improved. Then 211, it also improved. But you cannot say holistically that this is it, and you can just Google it online and see who said what and when the person said it. And also, we looked around and said most of these players are still around. So this is the best time to get them to speak, because if you wait for another circle, who don't own their own lives, they might be on their way to their maker. Even though we wish them to be around longer than that we are anticipating, but we need to strike while the iron is still very hot.
Okay. Thank you, guys. My take. And my take will come very strongly. 1999 governorship position was not a consensus. There was not even a discussion within the party because there was a great divide. There was a great divide between their excellencies, G. Efeanyi Chukwumobodo and Okwesili Ezemodo, who were then leaders of the PDP in Enugu State. They took to different candidates and to different senatorial zones. Okwumobodo, then National Secretary of the PDP, was a strong supporter of President Ndokago, who came from the Enugu West senatorial zone. Jim Mobodo, on the other hand, at first was dancing between Silas Ilo of the blessed memory, Okeju of the blessed memory, and in a miraculous show that beat everybody's imagination, wanted Chimaroke Namani to replace him. So you could see from the beginning, there was no contemplation of zoning. It was a matter of two elephants fighting for the soul of Enugu State. Jim had the day, maybe perhaps because of his overbearing political leadership or his charismatic leadership, or maybe, just maybe, because of his strong connection with Solomon La, who was then the chairman, national chairman of the PDP. So 1999 was not a zoning issue at all. It was not as to, okay, let it go there, because the two giants of the PDP fought to the last battle. I will not say what happened even to the election, that of course people would have kept fighting even on the day of the election of the governor. So would I say that it was zoned to Enugu East Senatorial Zone? It fell on Enugu East Senatorial Zone by struggle, by fights. And that, I think it was from there that at the expression of his tenure, Chimaroke Namani began also a dance as to where it's gonna go. There were several candidates from several zones. Some even pointed out that somebody from Enugu is could replace him. But after all the tumbom, because that's what it was, the tumbom, onya, it fell on the shoulders of Sullivan, Ihanacho Chime. And Sullivan did not actually play to the gallery. Long before his expiration, he made the famous pronouncement, Anye Jeben Soka. And I think that is where we begin to have a direction, a bearing as to, what could happen. According to him, he said it was just natural that after Enugu East Senatorial Zone, Enugu West, that the only one remaining was Nsukka, Enugu North Senatorial Zone. I know they thought, no, you wouldn't care. And then came to 2023, and that is where all hell was let loose. Many contended that if he has gone around, he could start anywhere, and that was where you have all the cultural groups, Fema Lomba, Odema Soka, Issues Oje, or Cultural Zone, and the rest. And that was where the battle became tense, tough, rough, and challenging. And for me, that was where my antenna and our antenna began to be raised. This discordant choose, what do we do? And that was when these four gentlemen, Uchen Nasser Lanioke, Ambrose Iboke, Ume Clinton, and Chikezi others, came together and thought of putting something together. And today, we have a book, we have a capsule, where you can just pick and then have a story of all these. This is my perspective, and I can't but thank my colleagues for the painstaking research, trouble, sleepless nights, and even, of course, thank your wives, your spouses, for bearing their absences. There were quite a lot of it. But we're sure we have something that we can lift to poster and say, look, yes, we're part of it. We saw. We came, we saw. Maybe on 7th we'll conquer. Now, in the course of our investigation, remember, there was a point, if you remember vividly, where they said the gentleman of CCO, Jim Obodo and Oki Modo Knights. That story. And if you did, what was it like? Clinton, you just laughed.
Well, yeah, because I think somebody that should know briefed us exclusively on that meeting, and it is also in that book. So anybody wishing to have a better context of what happened will do himself the favor of being at ICC on the 7th. Because that meeting was the Garden of the Titans. Okwimodo on one side, Jim moved on the other side, and then Sisiono on the third leg.
The Anefungo.
Anefungo of Ugo. And the question, everybody was dragging, it has to be my own candidate, it has to be from my own side. Then they came up with the issue that Jim, you are from the east, even though it was not Enugu, but you can see the politics of interest played. So everyone had to resort to, you are from Enugu East for Jim Mobodo, for Okwimodo, you are from Enugu North and the Suka axis. And from Ono, you are from the west. That means it can go anywhere. so that meeting was very hilarious, and the account is well tabulated in that book. And also, I think that was what made 2023 also very, very fierce. That issue of it has gone round, so it can come from anywhere. So that meeting between these three men, quote unquote, will tell you about the belief in the rotation system. Even though there was no Enugu then, because Okwi was not the governor of the then current Enugu state, Jim was not the governor of current Enugu state. Ono was not. But how they were able to still go back to, you are from here, you are from here, you are from here. After all, the title is what? Governor, and not maybe the time you wear the governor. So you will see also that, though not written, but somehow the conversation always comes up that you have gone round. You have had a fair share of the entire thing.
Talked about very briefly on that.
Yes, I remember in one of the speeches we are talking with His Excellency, Okwimodo, where he talked about, I think, meritocracy. Meritocracy. Yeah, he used that word and captured it up.
And if you want to know what it means, grab a copy of the book.
He was talking about, being fair to everybody, and that was actually what played out in that their discussion. But I think, just like you really pointed out, the meat of the discussion is will be unveiled on 7th of.
Okay, let me take you to another phrase that we met while we are doing the interview, and you begin to ask, was that actually a forerunner to zoning? It came from Matthias Some, triangular equilibrium. Clinton.
Yeah.
When you said triangular equilibrium, then again, not in the new Enugu state.
Yes.
But it means that for every state there's a triangle of the zone, like in Enugu state. So when did you think that triangular equilibrium in any way is a forerunner to this zoning? Even though they said no, it was not that. Actually, it was an adjective phrase to say we are in a tripod, and then things should be shared equally. But for me, it's like they realize that here they talk,
yeah.
So what's your thought about triangular equilibrium without revealing all?
Well, because I think one of the commissioners in that government spoke to us in that book.
I'm a so.
So everybody should, and this book is rich because every angle is covered.